Hello there. I'm Leanne. Get off my lawn, Parazone. And what I would like to talk about today is believers. And just because people are believers, I'm a believer. I've had many paranormal experiences, unexplained entities. What did I call them at one time? Agent X. Agent X. Because so many people are getting triggered over things. Yeah, that's not maybe the right word, but maybe it is the right word. Because some people get downright angry about it, and others are just like, I don't know, fed up. Because people have things about words. So there are people that don't like calling things ghosts or spirits or energy beings. People that don't like calling it a ghost hunt, or they define a ghost hunt as different from a paranormal investigation. And sometimes it just comes down to semantics. That things can mean the same thing, but not everybody uses the same words, even though they're referring to basically the same thing. Sorry, I keep looking away because things keep shifting and moving, and I've had 2 clocks fall off my wall. So I hear movement and I look to see what is shifting. Yes, and there's also a cat down here bugging me to be petted, as per usual. This one is Rosie, who got big and fat after her mama passed on, her human mama. Yes, Rosie. I'll pick you up and you won't like it, so. Not because I do anything bad to her. I have several cats that want to be petted all the time, but don't like to be held. And it's like, okay, but bending down to the floor to pet you is kind of a pain. Holding you on my lap and petting you works better, and some of them will jump up on, when I get up from my desk, they will jump up on high things, desks, tables, etc., so that when I walk by, I am obliged to pet them. This is not supposed to be a cat video. This is supposed to be a paranormal discussion, a real, serious, actual discussion. So basically, there is a misunderstanding, I think, among not just the paranormal community, but outside of the paranormal community. And by the way, on YouTube, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of paranormal communities that each have their own debunkers, their own teams they follow, or whatnot. So when we talk paranormal community, we're talking about a much larger group than a few debunkers or a few investigators. And see, that's another thing. There are people that don't like to call it paranormal. People that don't like to call it supernatural. People that prefer to call it unexplained occurrences, or, and you can't please everybody. And even at that, I often get feedback on some of my videos that correcting terms that I use or that I don't explain as in depth as maybe people think is warranted. But that's what you're going to get with me, is sometimes I go down the rabbit hole. Sometimes it's just down and dirty to explain in the moment. And at this, well, I'm not going to go into cryptids at this moment. Well, actually, yeah. I'm talking about the whole field, the whole everything, the whole, what do they say, the whole enchilada, the whole burrito. That just because somebody is a believer in the paranormal, the supernatural, the oddities outside of our normal everyday life, just because you're a believer in it does not mean that you automatically believe everything is paranormal. There are people like that. You've seen them on YouTube. Every little click, pop, noise is paranormal. And that's usually teams that are doing it for clicks and views. They're trying to drive their numbers. So they're trying to create excitement, suspense, fear, whatnot. But on your average, pretty much most believers in the paranormal do not automatically assume that everything that they experience or someone else experiences is actually paranormal. In fact, we do a lot of our own debunking. I mean, excuse me. I mean, who doesn't? Who sits in a chair and hears a noise and, 9 times out of 10, excuse me, sorry, I got an aunt. There's probably an uncle there too. I mean, if it's a minor little noise, you're just going to look, shrug, and go on with whatever you're doing. But if it's a noise that catches your attention, it's something, you're going to get up and you're going to go check it out. That's normal human behavior. You hear something in your house, outside of your house, whatnot, you're going to go check it out. And unlike many YouTubers, you're not going to grab your phone to go check it out. You might use your phone as a flashlight, but your first thought isn't to film everything you're doing when you go check out this noise. That's one of my harbingers of fakery. I mean, if it's something you've heard time and time again, and now you're going to try to catch it on video. Sorry, cat again. And you're going to try to catch it on video. You're trying to prove it to yourself or to other people. Then, yeah, you're going to grab your phone and try see if you can catch it this time. But people who, you see them, they wake up in their bed, they've heard a noise, and the first thing they do is start filming as they walk through their house. Okay, maybe I'm just old. Maybe I'm just old. Maybe it's a younger person's thing where they're filming everything they do, everywhere they go. I don't know. And it could be, especially for women, that they feel safer if they're filming in case they do come across a intruder. Personally, I would opt for some kind of a weapon rather than catching my demise on the cell phone so it can go viral. But regardless, back to the point of, it's human nature to check out noises and strange things happening. We don't just sit here in a bubble and ignore what goes on around us. Especially if you have pets. Because they can knock things over, they can get into things. If you have kids, you're going to be on top of stuff. If you're a single person living alone, you're going to be on alert for your own safety, if nothing else. So yeah, if there's a bang, a knock, whatever, you're going to go look and see and try to figure out what caused it. And just because you're a believer, you're not just going to say, whoa, that must be paranormal. Okay, I can't speak for all believers, but I will speak for the sane ones. How about that? You hear a scratching in the wall, you don't automatically assume it's paranormal. You think, oh, well, there might be mice in the wall. Or you hear something over your head, well, maybe a squirrel or a raccoon or something got into the crawl space or your attic. Or, critters get into basements. Even something like, okay, a door opens. Well, if you're in a strange place, then you're going to check and see, okay, does this door open easily? Does it not latch? You're going to, maybe open and close it a couple times to see if it happens again. Just so that you know yourself what's going on and why it might be happening. So as I started to say, yeah, I've had 2 clocks fall off my wall back there. I don't know why. I'm not going to say it's paranormal. Could be, any number of plausible explanations. Now, if one of them ends up across the room, then I'll look and say, okay, this is getting a bit weird. We need to look into this. But, some debunkers have talked about micro movements. That bag of groceries you put on your counter that looks like it's stable and sitting still, if you put a camera on it, you'd see micro movements as it slowly shifted over to where, because things weren't balanced. And it shifts over till it falls off the counter. Well, that's not paranormal. That's just groceries wanting to leave a mess for you to clean up. Well, it's micro movements. It's, it can be, even in the most solid of houses, there's vibrations when you walk. There's vibrations from music. There's opening and shutting doors can make drafts. So, no, don't chide the believers and scoff at them because, you think anything that happens, they're going to believe it's paranormal. No, for the most part, they're not. For the most part, they're looking for the real, the truth, just like debunkers, just like skeptics, just like, cynics don't care. Cynics, it doesn't matter what you show them, it's no proof. I mean, I think sometimes a full-bodied apparition could appear before them and slap them in the face, and they would still come up with some alternate excuse for it happening. And yes, I have noticed that some people are going more into the cynic side than they are the skeptic. And that's up to them. I'm a believer because I've experienced things, and it's sort of something that you have to experience for yourself. Everybody tries to collect evidence to prove that the paranormal exists. And then we pick apart the photos, the videos, the audio recordings. We pick it apart. We look for what could possibly be it, and try to. And the bar is set pretty high for what is going to be acceptable for evidence for some people. I know it was a quote, and it's not true. For believers, no evidence is necessary. For skeptics, no evidence is enough. Now, I believe the skeptic part, sometimes there is not enough evidence. It seems like there's not enough evidence in the world that will sway some people. And some people have set themselves up that they are not going to believe anything. But believers still want evidence. Sorry, I didn't mean to, this is all raw footage. I'm still not knowing how to edit things. So what you just saw there is I moved my leg and something hard and sort of sharp hit my leg. And so I was looking, trying to see what hit what it was that hit my leg, and there's nothing under the desk that could have done that. It's an unexplained occurrence. And a bit painful. There's no cat under there. It wasn't a cord. Nothing fell. Yeah, ow. It wasn't very nice. Anyway, I have no idea what just hit my leg. So I'm not going to say it's paranormal. I can't explain it. But it's that way with a lot of experiences. Believers do try to find reasonable explanations. And no, they don't believe. I mean, it's just like some people don't believe in UFOs, but they believe in spirits. Some people believe in cryptids, but don't believe in spirits. Some people believe in everything. Some people believe in nothing. But there's room for everybody on the playground. And that's the important part. And so, it's important that we don't shut each other down because our beliefs, our evidence, whatnot, doesn't agree. So this was really a long-winded way of telling you that believers don't believe everything they experience or anybody experiences is paranormal or supernatural. Believers are looking for evidence just like everybody else. Don't do weird faces. And, so give a bit more latitude to each other. Not just to the debunkers, but also to the believers. And just like, for the most part, believers aren't going to try to convince you of what they believe. By the same token, the skeptics and cynics shouldn't try to convince believers that there's nothing out there. See why I wear a mask? Because my face does what it wants when it wants. And I'm not always in total control of the shenanigans it gets up to. For example, there was a flagger on the highway, with the sign stopping people. And I stopped probably 20 feet short of her. It's a couple car lengths, but that wasn't good enough. And she was yelling at me that I needed to stop further away and that I was too close. And I was like, well, there's cars behind me, so I'm not backing up. And really, from what I've been taught, is you can pull up level with the person with the sign. You don't have to be miles back away, but this person was obviously very concerned that I was a couple car lengths away. And so I'm sitting there waiting, and then she starts berating me, saying, "You think this is funny?" And I'm like, "What?" She said, "You think this is funny? You're over there grinning? You think this is funny?" And I'm like sitting there going, I haven't a clue what you're talking about. It's like, okay, maybe my face was smiling. I don't know. It does its own thing. And people accuse me, get that, accuse me of smiling. Like that's a bad thing. I'm not laughing at them. I could be smiling at something I'm thinking of, or it could be just my face went into the smile position and decided that's where it was going to be today. And I don't always have time to babysit my face. I don't run to the mirror and look and see, okay, what do we, get it right, get it, no, that's it, get a proper face on. So that was a digression too. Always got to leave you with something a little humorous, and in retrospect, I don't suppose being yelled at by what they now call a Karen over something I didn't do and a facial expression that meant nothing. But it is funny that, yes, I make faces when I'm not thinking about it, because my face does what it wants. I wish it would decide to get younger and lose the wrinkles, but yeah, it's got its own agenda. So this last part was just babble. But this was my thoughts, putting it out there. Don't just assume that because somebody's a believer that they believe everything that happens is paranormal. And that they don't try to debunk and look for other answers, that they just go, whoop, paranormal. No. We do try to debunk as well. So y'all have a good night, morning, afternoon, evening, and be good to each other. Find your peace. Do a kind act every day. And get off my lawn.